PEKEMA Sarawak president dies at 74. Shortage of eggs due to stock delay. Meta stock price plummets. Those are the headlines for tonight. I'm Handy Gui and this is TVS Nightline. Association of Malay Importers and Traders of Motor Vehicles Malaysia or PEKEMA, Sarawak Branch President Tan Sri Abang Khalid Abang Marzuki passed away on Friday, February 4th at 5:43 a.m. The late Tan Sri Abang Khalid died at the Pantai Bangsar Hospital in Kuala Lumpur after losing his battle to stage 3 colon cancer. According to Tan Sri Khalid's daughter Fatma Dewi Khalid, the body of the deceased will be brought back to his residence in Jalan Muda Hashim before being buried at the Semayang Islamic Cemetery in Kuching later on the same day. Dewi said her father was diagnosed with stage 3 colon cancer on November 5th when he was rushed to Timberland Specialist Medical Center in Kuching after complaining of stomach pain. The late Abang Khalid then received further treatment at Pantai Bangsar Hospital in Kuala Lumpur on December 15. However, his health condition deteriorated after undergoing surgery on January 15, believed to be due to an infection. Born on August 19, 1947, Tan Sri Abang Khalid left a widow, Puan Sri Lili Johari, 8 grandchildren and 7 children. During his lifetime, apart from being a successful businessman, the deceased held several respectable positions, including President of the Sarawak Sepak Takraw Association and the Parti Pesaka Bumi Putra Bersatu PBB Semayang Branch Deputy Chief. The late Tan Sri Abang Khalid was also the President of Yayasan PEKEMA Sarawak Branch. The passing of Allahyarham Tan Sri Abang Khalid Marzuki is a huge loss for the Malay community in Sarawak. Chief Minister Datuk Patingita Tan Sri Abang Johari Tun Openg said Abang Khalid was a man who contributed much to the state in various fields, especially within the Malay community.
According to Abang Jo, he personally knows Abang Khalid since 1980s, where the corporate figure was once the Parti Pesaka Bumi Putra PBB Youth Secretary General.
Hari ini bersedih kerana pemergian seorang saya rasa kawan dan juga yang banyak menyumbangkan kepada pembangunan masyarakat kita khasnya orang Melayu. Di mana saya tahu bahawa Tan Sri pernah menjadi Setiausaha Agung Pergerakan Pemuda bersama dengan mendiang Tan Sri Celestin Ujang. Dan juga saya sebagai timbalan Ketua Pemuda. Dan dari situ saya nampak bahawa Tan Sri telah banyak membantu dari sudut politik. Dan pada tahun 80-an beliau telah dilantik menjadi Setiausaha Politik kepada Ketua Menteri. Dan lepas itu beliau juga berkecimpung di dalam dunia perniagaan. Dan Tan Sri adalah salah seorang yang agak berjaya dalam perniagaan khasnya di kalangan masyarakat Melayu. Dan kejayaan beliau bukan untuk dia sendiri.
He said this after paying his last respect and performed prayer for the late Abang Khalid, who was also the Association of Malay Importers and Traders of Motor Vehicles Malaysia, PEKEMA Sarawak Branch President.
Now, to commemorate World Cancer Day 2022, the Society for Cancer Advocacy and Awareness Kuching, or SCAND, organized an event that involves the re-illumination of the State Legislative Assembly building. This symbolic event is held annually, which involves the illumination of landmarks around the world as a tribute to those who have survived fatal disease and also those who are still fighting for their lives. The illumination also symbolizes a global effort to raise awareness, fight stigma, improve education, and inspire action to prevent millions of unnecessary deaths from cancer. Our reporter Muhammad Yusuf was on grounds earlier this evening for the coverage of the event.
All right, thank you, studio. Now, today's ceremony is to pay tribute to the cancer survivors and those who are still surviving, or rather fighting cancer itself. This is an annual event, and the color that you can see, the illumination of the dune right now, which is blue and orange, it represents the color of alliance between the NGOs and the government itself in fighting, or rather supporting, the cancer patients themselves while they are going through treatments and such. Now, during the event just now, during the ceremony, Datuk Fatimah Abdullah was present, and she was present to launch the ceremony. And in her speech, she mentioned 4 key points, which are basically the concerning matters in Sarawak in regards to cancer. Number 1 is the awareness, which is not on par to what the state government is targeting. For example, the awareness level is not high enough for the people to be more aware of their body, more aware of what's going on, what are the signs of a cancer, if you were to have cancer, whether it's stage 1 or stage 2 or stage 3. Now, the second concern is the stigma against the cancer patients, where people have perceptions against these cancer patients. This shouldn't be a reason, having cancer shouldn't be a reason to have a certain perception on the people, because we as people who are not suffering from cancer should support them rather than having a negative perception on these people. Number 3 is, of course, due to the lack of awareness, the people who does not know whether they have cancer or not, they would have a late detection, or rather presentation of the cancer itself, because normal symptoms such as back pain could lead to cancer, such as the lymphoma cancer or whatnot. Even coughing, constant coughing, can be a sign of cancer as well. And last but not least, the 4th concern about in regards to, or rather in related to cancer in Sarawak, is the cost of not only the treatment but also the transportation and the accommodation of these cancer patients and their guardians, because maybe this is more concerning to those who are residing in the rural area, because the only cancer center, which is only located in Kuching, is rather small currently. So that's why there's been talks about establishing the Sarawak Cancer Center for the betterment of the people in Sarawak, to address this problem holistically and throughout Sarawak itself. So the cost of treatment and the cost of transportation and accommodation for these cancer patients and their guardians are the main concerns that was addressed by Datuk Fatimah Abdullah during the launching ceremony of today's ceremony, in conjunction with the World Cancer Day 2022. And that is all the report I have for you today. Thank you so much. Back to the studio, Handy.
Deputy Chief Minister Datuk Sri Dr. Sim Kui Hun had expressed his disappointment over the delays of some contractors in completing the projects awarded to them. Dr. Sim, who is also Batu Kawah Assemblyman, said immediate action should be taken against contractors who failed to complete their projects within the schedule.
Citing as an example, the drainage system project in RPR Batu Kawah, which cost 500,000 ringgit and should have been completed last year, he said, till now, there has not been any progress and the delay has affected nearby residents. Dr. Sim had since issued a warning that no leniency would be given to the affected contractors, and reiterated that he would continue to monitor and had requested local councils to frequently report any sick projects and irresponsible contractors.
The passing of former Sarawak's governor, the late Tun Abang Muhammad Salahuddin Abang Barieng, was a great loss to many people in the state. The sentiment was also shared by the Royal Malaysian Navy that described the late Tun Salahuddin as the leader of the people.
Sebenarnya almarhum Tun ada sedikit kait rapat lah pada bagi pihak Tentera Laut Diraja Malaysia, di mana ketika KD Serjang ditubuhkan di Sibu lebih kurang pada tahun 1983-84, almarhum Tun amat dekat dan ada ada terlibat lah secara tidak langsung waktu masa saya lah, waktu if not mistaken kami during Rascom lah untuk penentangan pihak komunis.
Lieutenant Muhammad Ismail, who represented the Navy, also took the opportunity to convey their condolences to the family of the late Tun Salahuddin. The small Navy team arrived at the Semarang Islamic Cemetery at about 10 a.m. and the ceremony to pay respect to the late Tun Salahuddin was carried out briefly with 9 members and 1 officer of the Navy. The former governor of Sarawak, Tun Abang Muhammad Salahuddin Abang Bariang, died of natural causes at the Norma Medical Center at 11:47 p.m. on Friday, January 28. Born on August 27, 1921, Tun Salahuddin had served as the state governor from 1977 to 1981 and from 2001 to 2014, making him the first person to have been appointed to the post twice. Tun Salahuddin was among the leaders who were involved with the Cobalt Commission as well as the formation of the Federation of Malaysia.
Now, 7 illegal immigrants from Indonesia were caught entering Sarawak during Op Benteng that took place on Thursday. The operation was conducted at 8:15 p.m. and the suspects were spotted at an oil palm plantation area in Kampung Stas Bau, located 200 meters from Malaysia's border with Indonesia. They were asked to return back to the country immediately after investigations were completed. In a statement today, the 1st Division Infantry Malaysia said 2 of the 7 suspects were women and all of them have entered Sarawak without valid travel documents. Further investigations found that they have entered the country for the first time in hopes to secure a job. No items were seized and all suspects were sent back at 10:30 p.m. at the Malaysia-Indonesia National Army Land Forces. A man in his 30s was fined 3,000 ringgit for causing damage to his aunt's car. Ibrahim Afandi pleaded guilty to the charge for mischief under Section 427 of the Penal Code at the Magistrate Court. Based on the case facts, the incident happened at a residence in Kenyalang Park around 11:30 a.m. on January 11. He had a heated argument with his uncle, went berserk, and then made a hard kick to the said car, causing a heavy dent. Repair works cost the victims 1,000 ringgit. As such, the incident was reported to the police and Ibrahim was later arrested on February 1st. Magistrate Sharifah Fatima Azurawan Ali appeared as judge, while Inspector Muhammad Azmay Ahmad appeared as prosecutor. Meanwhile, Ibrahim was unrepresented.
Minggu ini, TVS membawakan kepada anda sebuah filem drama kerjasama 2 negara, Malaysia dan Indonesia. Dewi yang tidak dapat melupakan kekasihnya, Adam, telah dibawa neneknya ke Masjid Nabawi. Sewaktu di Madinah, satu insiden telah terjadi. Bagaimanapun, Dewi berjaya membebaskan diri setelah dibantu oleh seorang lelaki dari Indonesia bernama Rehan. Pelbagai konflik dan kekeliruan yang berlaku apabila Adam kembali menagih cinta Dewi dan Rehan menyatakan perasaannya yang sebenar.
Saya cinta sama kamu.
Jangan lupa untuk menyaksikan Bukan Cinta Malaikat. Lakonan hebat Nora Danish, Ashraf Muslim dan pelakon dari negara jiran Fakri Albar.
Ada pesan sama saya.
Sabtu, 5 Februari, 8.45 malam di TVS saluran 122 Astro dan My TV。
跟随4位不同舞蹈背景的舞者，体验沙劳越当地传统文化、美食和舞蹈。在这一集中，我们将去到三都旺的马来屋，体验马来传统文化。舞者们能在1天结束前学会这马来传统舞蹈吗？让我们敬请期待。
Assalamualaikum. Hai, bersama saya Khairul Nizamna. Kali ini meneroka sebuah lokasi hidden gem di Sarawak yang terletak di Kampung Sadi Padawan, iaitu Bak Buan Kukut. Jom sertai kami Khairul Nizamna dalam rancangan Ninjau setiap Isnin jam 10.30 malam hanya di saluran 122 Astro dan My TV. Jom Ninjau.
Welcome back. Now, in conjunction with the World Cancer Day, Prime Minister Datuk Seri Ismail Sabri Yaakob said the support of Keluarga Malaysia to cancer patients is crucial for them to continue fighting the disease.
In a post on his Facebook page, Ismail Sabri said he believed that many Malaysians had relatives or friends who were battling cancer. The Prime Minister said he himself had an officer who was a breast cancer survivor after 8 years of fighting. Observed on February 4th every year, this year's World Cancer Day theme is Close the Care Gap.
In a bid to improve national disaster management, the Central Disaster Management Committee, or JPBP, has outlined 8 strategic measures as laid out by the National Disaster Management Agency, or NEDMA.
Prime Minister Datuk Seri Ismail Sabri Yaakob said the meeting basically emphasized the short, medium and long-term measures and plans that should be taken by the federal and state governments so as to ensure future flood disasters would not have a major impact on the country and the people. The 8 measures are empowerment of policies, legislation and mechanism related to disaster management and disaster risk reduction (DRR), emphasis on DRR initiatives, provision of funds for disaster management and DRR, strengthening of coordination mechanisms and stakeholder competency for disaster management, improvement of information system and delivery in disaster management and DRR, empowerment of policies and aid coordination mechanisms for NGOs and volunteers, skill enhancement in crisis and strategic communications, and local community capacity increase and focus on localization in disaster management and DRR. In a statement today, Ismail Sabri said the meeting also agreed that all ministries and agencies should allocate 5% of their operating and development expenditures for disaster management, prevention, and risk mitigation. Ismail Sabri further added that the flood disasters that hit the country recently has had a great impact on the people, causing loss not only of properties but also lives. He said the issue must be resolved as soon as possible to avoid further damage to the people.
Now, former Prime Minister Tun Dr. Mahathir Mohamad has been allowed to go home on Wednesday, February 2nd, despite still receiving treatments at the National Heart Institute, or IJN. The Langkawi MP's office, in a statement, said Dr. Mahathir had been allowed to go on home leave from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m, but is still required to undergo physiotherapy and further medical procedures at IJN.
Saya ingin maklumkan bahawa saya telah pulih, tak sepenuhnya tetapi telah pulih beberapa hari ini, dan saya tiap-tiap hari saya balik ke rumah daripada hospital. Saya balik daripada pagi sampai petang, lepas itu saya balik ke hospital kerana masih ada procedures yang mereka ingin teruskan. Saya ucap terima kasih kepada semua pihak yang telah doa untuk pemulihan saya.
It went on to say that Dr. Mahathir would continue to be treated and that he had been told not to receive any visitors. Dr. Mahathir was admitted to IJN last month for an undisclosed ailment. Dr. Mahathir, who is 96 years old, had a history of cardiac problems. When he was 64 years old in 1989, he suffered his first heart attack. He also underwent a full medical checkup before Christmas last year and was given a clean bill of health and discharged.
The government has no plans to introduce specific standard operating procedures (SOP) for Tarawih prayers in mosques and suraus during Ramadan this year. Instead, the existing SOPs on congregational prayers will be used and continued. Minister in the Prime Minister's Department for Religious Affairs, Idris Ahmad, said, although there is an increasing trend for positive COVID-19 cases, it only involves cases in Category 1 and 2. Hence, the situation is still under control based on the SOP set by the Ministry of Health, MOH. Among the existing SOPs for congregational prayers in mosque and surau is that all members of the congregation are required to bring their own prayer mat and to wear face masks. Additionally, there should also be physical distancing of at least 1 meter apart when performing the prayer. The sharp increase in the purchases of eggs before, during and after the 2020-22 Chinese New Year holidays has contributed to the current shortage.
Ministry of Domestic Trade and Consumer Affairs, KPDNSEP Sarawak Director Dato' Stanley Tan said the shortage was also due to chicken and egg farms as well as delivery companies not operating during the Chinese New Year holiday period, while some even took holidays longer than the 2 days in conjunction with the festival. In this regard, the government has taken intervention measures by fixing maximum prices from 5th February 2022 to 5th June 2022. The two types of products that have been fixed set for maximum prices are chicken meat and eggs from grades A, B and C. Meanwhile, KPDNSEP had instructed all retailers to renew egg stocks in their shops, as well as contact wholesalers and manufacturers if supplies fall to the reorder limit. Based on production data from 50 chicken egg supplying companies that contribute 80% of egg production in Malaysia, a total of 839,281,658 eggs were produced in December 2021, while production from January 2022 was projected at 839,882,296 eggs.
Ekosistem marin termasuk terumbu karang, rumput laut dan hutan bakau adalah amat penting dan memberi sumbangan dalam kemakmuran ekonomi, sosial dan alam sekitar. Nilai ekonomi yang boleh dijana daripada pemeliharaan ekosistem marin di taman laut adalah 8.7 bilion ringgit Malaysia setahun. Bersama-sama kita lindungi dan memelihara kelestariannya. Jadilah pengunjung kawasan taman laut yang bertanggungjawab dengan mematuhi peraturan yang ditetapkan. Sertai aktiviti sukarelawan dan menyokong usaha pemeliharaan ekosistem marin. Kurangkan penggunaan plastik sekali guna. Peka dan menghargai kepentingan hidupan laut dan ekosistemnya. Amalkan penggunaan teknologi hijau. Lupuskan peralatan rumah dan bahan berbahaya dengan kaedah yang betul. Gunakan baju organik dan mesra alam serta tingkatkan pengetahuan mengenai ekosistem marin.
Saat ini menakutkan kita semua. Dunia seakan hilang, kosong. Detik seakan berlalu. Semua ini berlaku sekelip mata. Jika detik ini kembali.
Abang, nak tengok dummy bakar?
Kerana benda kecil, kita hilang yang besar. Keceriaan kembali terukir bila kita fahami keselamatan. Ianya tidak mahal, tetapi bernilai. Hidup bukan hanya tentang diri kita, tapi tindakan kita mampu mengubah dari apa yang terjadi.
Thank you for staying with me. Now, shares in Facebook owner Meta fell over 20% in U.S. early trade on Thursday, February 3rd, after the social media giant issued a dismal forecast blaming Apple's privacy changes and increased competition. The huge drop indicates that Meta was set to lose a fifth of its market value, erasing about $200 billion. If the pre-market losses hold, a decline of this size in Thursday's session would mark the company's worst one-day loss since its Wall Street debut in 2012.
Facebook was an unmitigated disaster. You're really starting to see the advertising headwinds from Apple and its privacy issues. This is a black-eye quarter for Facebook and something that's really going to send shockwaves across the market.
Investors expect policy tightening at the U.S. Federal Reserve will erode the industry's rich valuations after years of ultra-low interest rates, putting pressure on big U.S. IT companies in 2022. The tech-dominated Nasdaq fell more than 8% in January, its worst monthly drop since the end of 2019. Meta reported a decline in daily active users from the previous quarter for the first time as competition with rivals like TikTok, the video sharing platform owned by China's ByteDance, heats up.
I think there's a massive shift to TikTok. I think that's been a competitive headwind for Facebook, for the likes of Snap, for Twitter. And you are starting to see engagement starting to get reduced, especially coming out of the pandemic.
Meta said about 3% of worldwide monthly active users in the fourth quarter consisted solely of violating accounts, while duplicate accounts may have represented about 11% of usage. The disappointment over Meta's earnings and subsequent stock fall raised memories of the bursting tech bubble in 2000. The so-called FANG group of Facebook, Amazon, Apple, Netflix, and Google's alphabets has seen around $400 billion in market capitalization wiped off in the opening weeks of 2022, as cheaper segments of the markets become more attractive, while central banks taper stimulus. Other social media stocks were also hit hard in pre-market trading on Thursday, including Twitter, Pinterest, and Spotify.
Now wrapping up the Nightline, a former state farm in southern Germany is breeding small pigs that may hold the key to a giant leap in life-saving science, pig-to-human heart transplants. The facility, which is now a laboratory for molecular animal breeding and biotechnology, is home to a variety of pigs, among them the petite Auckland Island variety.
The southern New Zealand pigs have been chosen by the LMU because of their naturally smaller size, making their hearts more compatible with the human body. Another benefit of the Auckland pigs is that they are naturally free of certain viruses, including the type C endogenous retrovirus. The animal-to-human transplants are known as xenotransplants. A team from United States at the University of Maryland managed to implant a genetically edited pig heart into a terminally ill patient in a first-of-its-kind surgery in January. The man has been doing well almost 3 weeks after his surgery, but risks such as infection, organ rejection, or high blood pressure were still present. The US experiment was encouraging and an important step in the field, as to breed donor pigs would be easier with natural breeding and fewer genetic modifications.
And that wraps up the Nightline for today. With that, I'm Handy Gui. Stay safe and have a pleasant evening.